Hi, welcome back to I Am AAPC. I'm Heather Johnson. I'm here with Lisa Wilson. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Where are you joining us from?
Right now, I'm in Michigan. I'm
Okay.
actually here just for a couple of weeks. My mother had surgery, so I'm able to move and work from here. In fact, I'm on my lunch break, so it works out really well. But I live now in Missouri, outside of St. Louis. So,
Okay. Are you from
and
Missouri?
no, my husband is. We moved to his hometown, but I am actually an Army brat. So for about the first 9 years of my life, I was all over the world. I was actually born in Germany,
Oh, cool.
just because of my dad being in the service, and but then went back to Michigan, where my parents are from, and so then rest of elementary and high school and all that, I was there in Michigan, and then I guess because so young, I had the travel bug. I've lived different locations myself. So I've lived in Connecticut. I was actually a nanny for a year and did that. And then I moved to Arizona. I've lived a couple different areas in Arizona. Then I got married while I was there. And um, my husband got a job in California. So we lived in California for a while. With his
Oh,
job,
wow.
we got relocated to the Denver area, lived there for quite a few years. And um, then we ended up moving back to his hometown. So about 5 years ago, we moved to
Yeah.
Missouri. So that's
Okay.
where I'm
You're
at now.
very, very well traveled. I thought I'd lived several places, but you put me to shame. Okay, so you live in Missouri.
Mhm.
You're married? Do you
Yeah.
have any pets, kids?
Yep. No kids. We were not blessed in that way, but we do have three cats.
Three
So
cats?
three cats. Yep. They're all rescues. Got one that was blind, one that had a stroke about a year ago, one that had a thyroid issue that had to be taken care of, but they're all doing good now. And
I love to
so,
hear it. I
yep,
love
I can't.
I have a rescue pup, so I love that.
Yeah, yeah, we got the two older ones, the one that had the stroke and the one with the thyroid. They're like 15 and 16 years old, and we got them from Society in Denver. And then the other one is only a 2 year old, and we got her when she was about 4 months. She was being fostered. She was found in a ditch and had like a conjunctivitis and lost her vision. And so we adopted her, and she's been with us. She's a trip.
Oh,
She's just
wow. You're a
so.
saint. I bet they keep you busy.
Oh yeah, yep.
I feel like there must be something with like coders being cat people. Like
Yeah,
I think they're pet people leaning hard toward cats. I feel like whenever that people are like posting photos, I'm always
yeah.
like, oh,
Like
there's
these
a
big
cat keeping
cats.
the company.
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay. Can we talk about your professional life a
Sure.
second? You mentioned that you can work from right now you're out of state. So you work from home. What do you do?
I'm a coder for the facility side surgery centers.
Cool.
So we have about, what is there, like 17 or 18 surgery centers in the Denver area and one in Wichita. And we're part of a hospital system, HCA. And so HCA is like all over the place. But I started working there back in 2011, and I started in patient collections.
Hmm.
And I did that, and then an opening came for billing. And so then I did billing for about 5 years. And then partway through the billing, I had before I had started there, I had gotten an associate's degree in medical billing and coding. And I actually did some cold calling for a job and ended up working at a billing company where they, took in outside billing. And so I did that. And then due to layoffs, because I was the last one hired, I ended up getting a job with HCA Health One, and like I said, in patient collections. And so I, tried to move my way around, which is, I think, a good way to go,
Sure.
um, because my billing experience is being utilized to this day. Um, our department has 10 coders, and we have 4 billers. And when I started back in 2011, we had 7 surgery centers.
Oh,
We
wow.
had 3 coders and 2 billers, and we're now, I want to say it's like 18 centers, and we have, I think, 3 more that are going to be opening this year.
Oh, my.
And so it's multidiscipline. we do a lot. We have like the endoscopy center, so we do a lot of colonoscopy, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we have several. I code for one of the two urology centers, which is why I got my urology certification. I thought that would be very helpful.
Mhm.
So I code for them. I code for two specific ones. One that's a multi-discipline one. I never know from day to day what I'm going to be coding. Today it's been cataracts, hernias, tonsillectomies. The urology stuff actually was a lot. I did urolifts. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Neurostems. They do a lot of that in urology. Cystoscopies. Just, and yeah.
Do you
So
like,
it's,
it sounds like there's like a lot of variety. Do you like that?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's real nice. I mean, it's nice to know from day to day, these are the two centers that I work on, but anytime somebody needs help or somebody is out, then we all kind of cross cover.
Okay.
So I'll go through and code GI stuff, you know,
Yeah.
when it's needed. When somebody needs help pulling path reports to code, then I do that. And I'm extremely, extremely, extremely lucky where I work. We have an awesome team. I mean, I count myself just, yeah, I've seen, you know, comments from people like on Facebook and stuff, and they talk about a job. I mean, and it's weird. My whole team feels that way. We work for such a great company. Our leadership is awesome. I mean, we all pull together and work, you know, when somebody's out and needs something, everybody's always willing to help. And back to the billing part, because of my experience in billing, I often help out with billing. So if they're short or like end of month gets crazy because we're trying to close out thousands upon thousands of cases,
Yeah.
that I'll often, you know, okay, when I get done with my coding, I help out and help with billing. So
Yeah.
it works, I mean, very well. And I don't mind doing that. You know, they always know that, say, hey, you know, Lisa, can you help cover? Sure, or whatever, you know. So yeah, I just,
Sounds like you stay very busy, but you are,
yes.
it seems like well versed like across multi-disciplines, which is really cool. Can you brag a little and tell us about your credentials?
Well, I have a few.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, start out with the CPC, and then I initially got my first specialty certification, the orthopedic one, because I wanted to know more on coding those because I struggled with coding certain orthopedic, because we do a lot of knees, we do total knees, we do, I mean, a lot of orthopedic stuff, shoulders, ankles, feet, hands. I mean, um, so I just, it took me a long time to code those and I wanted more knowledge. So I thought, why not immerse myself in that? And so that's why I decided to go get my orthopedic. And then while coding for the urology centers, like, you know, I would like to know more about that as well. So then I decided to get my CUC. And then um, was talking to my manager during my yearly evaluation, and I had mentioned that I wanted to get the ambulatory surgery certification as well, because that's what I do. I'm,
Yeah.
you know, ambulatory surgery coder. And I thought that would be, you know, something that I would like to have to show, you know, I was very pleasantly surprised when going through the tests that I knew a lot of it just because we do such a wide variety of procedures. So that was, but I found it, you know, helpful. And, you know, I think it shows to my, you know, the management of where I work that I'm interested in learning, that I want to better myself. And I gained a lot of knowledge with each certification.
Yeah.
So with all the practice stuff, it just, you know, gave me a lot more knowledge, which is one thing that I really like, is learning about how, you know, how to code these specific procedures. And my management, my supervisor and manager, they're just very appreciative. They've reached out to me for especially the urology, you know, questions like, hey, have you seen this? How do you code it if you see that? Because there's certain things that we have to know. Like one of the things I had today was an audit because somebody else had coded a procedure that the LCDs were not met. And so it was denied.
Yeah.
And I thought I knew exactly what it was, and it was. And so I was able to remedy that.
So you're
Um,
the expert they bring in.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, if they have there's two urology centers. I've coded both. Um, and so yeah, they have reached out to me. They could reach out to the other person too. I don't know.
Sure.
But we all pretty much work remote now. There's one that sometimes goes into the office, but I kind of led the precedent of being in another state. I was the
Um,
first one to move out of state. And then after that, they hired a coder that lives in Tucson. He's been with us, I want to say 5 or 6 years.
so
Um,
you moved out of state and they were like, oh, you are still doing a good job. We
yeah,
now can expand, you know,
yeah, it kind of set a precedent saying that this works.
that's awesome.
We can do that. So another one of my fellow coders actually moved to Missouri too. She lives about 2.5 hours from me. We have because where we're located basically is the Denver area, but there's a couple others that live out like Grand Junction.
Mhm.
Um, One of our billers now lives in New Mexico. So the
Okay.
billing part now, because they've discovered that it still works,
Right.
and we're able to do our jobs just great.
Yeah. I feel like COVID, while it was horrendous and heartbreaking in so many ways, it really opened up like a lot of industries recognizing that remote work is possible. And then it can
Right.
better match people for roles, right? Like you don't have to be local to Denver, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's really cool, especially when it comes to billing and coding. Like if you can work remote, then you can be better matched to like the specialty that you are an expert in. And I think that's really cool.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it actually timed perfect because at the time we were moving, we outgrew the building that we were in.
Mm,
And so they decided to, I mean, I just want to say, I think a few months before we were moving to Missouri, they decided to do this. And I was able to, stay on and work. Because at that time I was working as kind of a 3/4 time biller with the other quarter time coder, because I've had my original CPC from 2012 and I
okay.
didn't move until 2016. So I was doing both at that time. And so once I moved in 2016, I became a full-time coder.
Got it.
So,
Can I ask you about the exams? A
okay.
lot of people I think are really, and please tell me about your experience. I think a lot of, especially new coders, are intimidated by exams. And so it's nice to hear veterans like you share. Is it as scary? What can you do to prepare? Like now that you've done it a couple of times, what advice do you have for future examinees? And of course, sharing any
Yeah.
experience that you had.
Yeah, it was very scary.
Yeah.
Especially the first time, when I did it, because with the CPC, it covers so much.
Yeah.
And I'm still no good at E&M coding. That's one thing I struggle with.
Okay.
But I don't do it. So we don't do anything with the E&M, with the facility coding. So that's why I don't really know much about that. But yeah, it's very daunting. And but the one thing that I think really, really helped me was doing the practice exams.
Okay.
That because it kind of gives you a feel for it. And so I would like, okay, I have this many, I need to get it done in this amount of time. So it kind of equaled, the fraction of how much the big test, which, at the time was over 5 hours.
Yeah.
But so that I think I did it for each one of my certifications. I did the practice exams. I had the study guides. Um, I, I mean, I think that was very helpful.
Okay.
And then, when I did the CPC, I didn't know what kind of coding I was going to really be doing. I didn't know if I was still going to be able to be, coding there, or if I'd have to go find another job.
Right.
Um, but in fact, one of my husband's coworkers, she talked to me and has been interested in doing it. And I kind of helped her along the process of getting her CPC. And she just got that a couple months ago.
Oh, that's so fun.
And yeah, so it's, I love it. I mean, it took me a long time to get to this point,
Okay.
for having a career, because I didn't start doing this until I was in my 40s. But now I love it. I look at it as a kind of like a puzzle. I'm trying to solve a puzzle. And some of these, cases that come through, like some of the eye procedures, you can do like 5 different procedures in the eye, or shoulders are very difficult, or, knees, whatever. Some of these I can have like 5 or 6, and I have like 5 or 6 pages of op report that I got to read through and try to figure out. And I'm extremely lucky that if it's something that's like, I'm just not sure, I can send it to my manager
Yeah.
and say, what do you think? How, does this look right? And it usually comes out that, yep, looks good. And it's like, so, all the pieces of the puzzle fit. And I get that great sense of satisfaction, knowing that I worked really hard on that.
I love
And
that.
yeah, so and what's weird though is that I don't like to do puzzles.
Oh,
So
I was actually going to ask. That's funny.
yeah, no,
You
my
you do
husband
them
wants.
you do them enough at work that you don't need to do it.
Yeah, no, I've watched my husband do puzzles, and that's very frustrating. But yeah, it's just the mystery of it, just being able to read it,
Yeah.
look for the certain things that you need to look for, and code it and code it. I always strive for a clean claim.
Yeah.
So, and I don't like to make mistakes, but I learn from mistakes. Like, we have internal audits that go on, and so we're lucky that our auditor, she uses it as an educational type thing.
As it
And
should be, right?
yeah, yeah. And my manager said that she's had auditors before that's not how it was. So we're lucky that
Yeah.
ours is so good at that if we do make mistakes, she's okay, this is how you need to do it going forward.
Mhm.
And it kind of leads me to how I even got into the medical billing and coding world, is that my stepmother, who's a nurse, always said, you would have made a good nurse, just getting in that, you have the right temperament for it. You have the thirst for the knowledge for that. But
Mhm.
my one big thing is that I didn't want any mistake of mine to cost somebody their life.
Sure.
And so, worst case scenario in what I do, we send a corrected claim.
Yeah. Much
So
lower. It's a lower.
yeah, yeah. So, and yeah, I mean, there's been mistakes, and they're honest, mistakes, not anything. Because yeah, I mean, and they always know I beat myself up over any mistakes, but that happens.
Yeah.
So it does happen, and but that's I just I love what I do. I love the knowledge, and I'm in the medical field,
Yeah.
and there's so many things that you can do with having a CPC. So many places to go, or you got all different kinds of coding. Just like if you were a nurse or a doctor, there's so much out there.
Yeah.
And but
I love that you love your role. It sounds like you have like a great team with like a strong support system. And it's kind of cool to hear about you starting a little bit later. I think sometimes people get intimidated by making a career change later. And I just think that's like really admirable. And it's worked out. You get to
yeah,
work remote.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's worked out great, because I mean, my husband, for a long time, he was an aerospace engineer.
Oh, wow.
And so that's why we did the relocation to Denver and all that. He then decided that he just didn't like what he was doing, and now he's a high school science teacher.
Oh, you guys
And
both did it.
yeah, well, I mean, he just he decided he just wasn't satisfied. All the
Yeah.
stuff going on in that kind of world, there's a lot of government oversight in what
Sure.
he did, and because he was involved in launching rockets and stuff like that, and so he really likes teaching. But of course, the pay went significantly down.
Sure.
And so, being a coder, mine went up from when I was a patient collector biller. And so it actually has worked out really well. And like I said, I'm hoping to stay where I'm at until I retire.
I love
And there's several of us in our team that, yeah, this is our end job. We love it so much there. So
Wow.
we're just, yeah.
That's so cool. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I know you're on the lunch break and you want to get back to the job you love. Um, do you have anything else you want to share with the AAPC community about exams, credentialing, local chapters, anything you'd like to share?
I'd say try and learn as much as you can. There's so much out there, and so, the resources, as far as getting the CEUs. I mean, just, the AAPC, with the magazines, that's a big thing. You've got the webinars, which I've done those before. There's, so much that you can get. There's so much knowledge that you can get. Like I'm currently doing Practicode or orthopedic Practicode. Those are real nice to do. I've done a couple of those. Now, as far as the chapter meetings, I haven't been able to really go. At the times, they closed the one closest to me. So I'd have to go up into St. Louis, and I live about an hour from where they were doing them. Yeah, I have done some of the virtual, which is very nice, especially during COVID. That kind of thing is very helpful. But yeah, there's so many resources out there. And I mean, just through the AAPC website, you can see all kinds of things that you can learn. Like I said, through the Practicodes. If you're going to go for a specialty certification, you got the study guides. I did like the online training. I went through that. There's things out there. Even with my husband's friend, I told her, I said, you can do everything go through AAPC. You can do the training just for that. They have study guides. They have, they have the help on there. And she passed it on her first attempt.
I love that. I love that AAPC is like a small part of now her story, but also your story in like this career trajectory for you. That sounds awesome. Hey, thanks for taking the time. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.